Thank you so much. It's so beautiful. It's the first time I've ever been here, and I'm so glad I came. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to say hello to everybody. I just wanted to give you folks a few updates in regards to some of the concerns that were brought up here tonight. First of all, I just want to say that meeting that we did come up to Pahoa, I brought the county council out. I tell you what, it was one of the most educational nights I ever had in my life. It was just absolutely wonderful that we learned, from the community, the problems and concerns that's been going on for so many years. And honestly, we didn't know. I mean, we didn't know. I didn't know. And so it was very, very, it really touched me in many ways, and it allowed me to take a look at some of the problems and say, we got to come up with solutions. So just to let you folks know, I want to give you guys an update in terms of things that we are doing. Now, it addresses some of the issues that I heard tonight. First of all, in regards to the relocation fund, with Aurora's issue and so forth. It's really crazy the way the law reads. It says that your house has to be built 1989, you live within a 1 mile radius, but the way the law reads is crazy, because what the county would do is they would relocate somebody, and then what they would do is they would put the house up for sale for someone else to come back in. Oh, that's kind of crazy, don't you think? If we have a problem with one family, why would we bring another family in? I mean, that's nuts. So we are changing that. Two things that we're doing, that's a big change to that law. We're changing a law that says this. We're going to take away that 1989 thing. What we're going to do, that is taken out, and we're going to say anyone, we're still using the same 1 footprint though. I'm sorry, 1 mile footprint. Anyone that lives within that 1 mile footprint, they are going to be eligible to apply for a relocation with the county of Hawaii, and it doesn't matter whether it's 1989 or 1994 or 2010. But we're going to give everyone an opportunity that do want to move outside of that footprint to do so. So that's one of the things that we've done, and we heard that loud and clear at the meeting. Thank you to Aurora for bringing that to the council. The other thing is, you heard about the relocation fund, is that there was a change to the fund where the council changed it with a relocation and public benefit fund, but it's going to be used for things such as hiring security guards or maybe paving the road and so forth. It kind of went away from the real purpose of the relocation fund. Oh, by the way, what I'm telling you folks now is legislation that's going to be heard on May 15th in front of the county council. So the legislation has all been done. It's going to come forward for the council to vote on. If it passes, it'll become law. But the other thing that we're changing for the relocation fund is this. It's not going to be the community benefit fund anymore. It's going to be the relocation public safety fund. And what that means is that fund can only be used for certain purposes, and it'll be for doing medical surveys, and and to make sure that we health surveys. I'm sorry. It'll also be used to buy equipment such as monitors. Whatever equipment that is deemed necessary to help with the public safety for the people that live within the same geothermal zone. We're going to be redirecting that money to make sure that we use it for its original purpose, and that's for the public safety of the people of the county of Puna. Because you folks are the ones that are most affected. So that's going to be something that's going to come before the county council. It's going to come before us on May 15th. The other thing that we're doing that we heard loud and clear, now this is not the answer to no geothermal, but what we do need to understand is there's a lot of things that are happening at the state level. They're moving so fast where they're making it where you don't have an EIS, you have to do an EA, environmental assessment. That's scary, to not have the public report on the process. And that's what the EIS and the EA does. It allows the public to have input into the environmental impacts of any development. But they're trying to move forward with that. So, because these laws are being passed, what we need to do is be very careful on our end, try to put laws in there that protects the people. And one of the things that we are doing is we are putting together legislation that creates a buffer zone. And that buffer zone, and as recommended by Harry Kim, the Civil Defense Director, is 10 miles. So what we have a legislation that says that no new geothermal development can be built within 10 miles of residential area. So that's coming forward. Now, and just to let you folks know, I had a question asked to me up there, a very intelligent question. Because when we do the relocation fund, it said 1 mile footprint, right? Well, you know what? We do have to do that 1 mile footprint. Let's try to get the people out of that buffer area. When we do that, you know what we do? Then we move to 2 miles.
Yes.
And you know what we do after that? We move to 3 miles. because the royalty fund continues to feed into that every single year. It's about $500,000 or so. So we've got to be prudent, but what happens is we try to work towards a 10-mile buffer. That's going to be hard because we know the school is right over there, 3 miles away. They screwed up by making the location so close to the residents to begin with, but that's the intention of the relocation fund. But the legislation for the buffer zone, though, that is to be any new development, we want to make sure that there is at least 10-mile buffer so you cannot build within that area. I wrote a couple of notes here on my paper that I wanted to make sure I covered. I want to make sure I got that all up. Okay, and then the monitors, and by the way, part of the thing that we learned by coming out to the community, a simple thing such as if there is a blowout, there should be robocalling so that all the people within that area are called and notified and say, get out, there's a problem. And it costs thousands of dollars, but people say, well, we don't have the money. Well, we do, it's in a relocation fund. So we're going to be able to implement that as well. So that's going to be one of the ideas, again, from the people saying that we need to be warned, and that is going to be one of the ways that we want to use the money. I wrote that down, so I want to make sure I got it. And then the other thing is, let's see. Okay, and the other thing that we're doing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is we are putting together the legislation. It's not going to be heard on the 15th, but the very next meeting. But what we're going to do is this. We are going to mandate the County of Hawaii Civil Defense, Department of Health, Fire, Police, and the State Civil Defense, and mandate them to come to draft an emergency evacuation plan for Puna and have that plan brought forward to the County Council for adoption. Now the key to that is this. We need to have, I mentioned some agencies, but we also need to have the public stakeholders involved in the development of that plan. But eventually that plan comes to the council so that at the council it becomes an open forum. It becomes where everybody will get to see what the plan is, hear what the plan is, and say, we agree or we don't agree. But we're going to make it a public process by putting the law in, it mandates them to do it, and that's coming forward as well.
What time on the 15th?
On the 15th, it's going to be on the planning department meeting, the relocation fund, that particular legislation. But the sequence of the meetings haven't been set yet. If you call my office, by the way, I already talked to the newspapers about these legislation because I told them we were all going to bring it forward. But now that it's done, they're going to be writing about it in the newspapers, so you'll be able to see it. It's going to be in the front page of the paper, and certainly whatever support we can get. But we got to be refocused again on this geothermal relocation fund. We got to be focused on the intent of it, but mainly to address the problems that exist, so that we can help you guys.
How about shutting down PGV?
Yeah. We don't have the problem. We don't have the power to do that. I gotta tell you, that kind of stuff, is at the state level. However, what I will tell you is this: one of the things that I truly, honestly believe in that we need to do as a county is we need to begin to administer home rule. We need to begin to say that we, as a county, how we want our community to look like, what we want it to feel like, how we want, but you take a look at all these issues that we've gone through the county council recently with the building code that makes it virtually impossible for people to get their home permitted, or just the cost that's involved because of all of these restrictions. It's ridiculous, and that's where we, as a community, gotta say, this is what we want our community to look like. Now, in this issue here, that's part of it too. We as a county gotta begin to say when the governor said, and he came to Kona and he said, we're going to build a 1,000-megawatt plant and we're going to build it here on a big island. And I said, wait a minute, have you talked to the people of the big island first, number one? And number two, I don't believe, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I don't believe that the people of the county of Hawaii should be the guinea pigs for the rest of the state when it comes to geothermal development. If there is a disaster, you know what? They're not going to feel it out in Honolulu. You know what's going to feel it? It's us and our keikis and our families. So, we cannot have those type of discussion go on without having it come to the people. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do. Make sure that we provided avenues for the people to be part of the process. We've always been about that, and we're going to continue to be about that because, you know what, folks, this is your island.
And by the way, government, we work for you, you know. It's not the other way around. We work for you guys, yes.
Yeah, hey Dom, thank you very much for all that. And one of the things we're working on right now is we're trying to get information on what kind of accidents and releases have there been since 1999 until now. We haven't been able to get that information. We could use help getting information from EPA. They monitor the wells. You know, that, and there's other things. I don't know if you have any ideas on that, but we could.
Well, I think first of all, Robert, maybe it's a little bit different, I think, when an elected official requests for the information, because they certainly cannot refuse us. So you tell me exactly what you want, you put it in a document very clear, and I will request it for you.
That's what I was.
I don't want to take up all your losing time. I just wanted to, because I heard the presentation, I want to let you folks know what we're doing, because I will tell you, we heard you. We heard you loud and clear, and I'm so glad we came out to the community to listen to you folks.
Glad you came.
Oh, no, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Was there a deadline as to when this evacuation route is to be brought before the council?
Okay, the question is there a deadline? One thing I will tell you is because of what Pele Defense Fund did, and you know, and this being in the front page of the newspaper, believe me, this has become a hot subject throughout the state of Hawaii, let me tell you.
Wow.
And in terms of the emergency evacuation, I was so proud that the Civil Defense Director was there at that meeting in Pahoa, and he stayed right through. And one of the nice things that I saw him doing is he's beginning to move forward in trying to bring people together, you know, to try to do that. So I know the Civil Defense Director is doing that. We haven't not, on the legislature, we haven't not set a deadline yet, because I want to make sure if I do it realistically. But I will tell you, but because of the people and what they expressed at that meeting, you got the administration standing up and taking notice, and they're fighting for the first time. Even if there was a recommendation back in 2000 as far as what to do with the emergency plan, and it just sat on the shelf, they're finally moving to action, because what we said is we're going to come up with an ordinance that say you shall do it. Well, they're already doing it, at least starting to do it, but we're going to be more clear as far as what we want and the process, because we want to make sure that that process includes the stakeholders, which is the people. They got to come out to the public with the plan and make sure you focus. You know, you folks live here. You know whether what you see on the wall is going to work or not. But as far as the date, we still haven't decided what date, but there will be a time frame. But I cannot tell you right now what date I like to think things through, but I will be able to get a date before that legislation go out, you know, for consideration for the county council. Good question. Yes, sir.
I appreciate the county is doing this, but what about OHA and the state? They get royalties out of it too. They get to use the monies. So why don't they put some of that to our Pilikia? And there's a lot of sick people that need to be treated.
You know what? I totally agree, and that's the geothermal royalties that the state received. The state received money, and by the way, they receive a heck of a lot more money than we do, by the way. You know, but I agree with you. But where that conversation needs to take place is with our state legislature, because they control that. They control that, yeah. So our state legislatures, I think they need to hear from the public to say, and you tell them what you feel the money should be utilized for, and maybe they'll follow some authority. But yeah, make it known to them, because the money is just sitting there. And unfortunately, with some of these funds, you know, become funds that they raid because, you know, they're shortful of revenues. And so we got to be very specific in how we describe these funds.
The other question was,
Yeah.
how can, is there a way that the county can hold geothermal, BGV accountable for their violations of their permit?
The permit is actually monitored and enforced by the Department of Health.
And why don't they enforce it?
I talked to the guys at Department of Health. I actually asked them to come to the meeting that we had in Pahoa, because I said, you know, with all the concerns that's coming forward, you guys got to hear what these people are saying, so that you can, you know, you can come out and not only enforce, but you can come out and address these issues, or come out and stand like how I'm standing and begin to talk one-on-one with the people. Unfortunately, they declined to come, and, you know, declined to the invitation. But I think we should continue to ask them to come, because they are the enforcing branch, you know. And he did tell me that as far as they're concerned, right now PVG is meeting all the EPA mandates.
You know,
They're
so.
not meeting their permit.
Yeah, well, so I think what you need to do is do exactly what's happening right now, but formally ask these guys to come to the meeting. Formally tell them we'd like you to be part of the discussion, and formally tell these guys, and have your legislature, elected official also ask Jerry Chang, ask Gil Kaheli, and tell those guys, we want, I just try to think of names, right? But just ask these guys to have their department come to the meeting. Because when we have meetings, for example, on Honoka'a, and it's a sewer meeting, I make sure my department, the head of the wastewater division is at the meeting. Because I'm not an expert, right? And when it comes to questions like this, it really should be the department that's enforcing it. So ask them to come. You know what? It's part of their job. They work for us. They work for the people. Ask them to come. In fact, let me change the word. Don't ask. Demand that they come. Demand that they come to the meeting.
I just want to say something real quick on Department of Health, because you said you asked them to come, and they wouldn't come, and this has been our experience with them, and I'm not saying we shouldn't ask them to come. We should ask them to come, but I just want to be real clear. Since that time when you asked them to come and they said no, they had their environmental committee ease the rules even. So, we can say that they're hearing us at the state level, but what we're seeing in the actions that they're taking is that they're not hearing us, that they're actually making it easier for the developers. And there's going to be another one on the 17th now, where they're going to pass some more of this stuff. It's the Environmental Council for the Department of Health, and I'm going to send out some information on that. But I want to really say, I've dealt with Department of Health since 1981. And we sued them for the rules, and they've been in bed with the developer. I hate to say that, but after 20, 30 years, I can say that the Department of Health has been in bed with the geothermal developers from day one. They're still in bed with the geothermal developers. They've never helped us, not one time. After everything that's happened, the Department of Health has never helped us. And I'm not opposed to asking them. I'm still willing to ask them to come. But we cannot expect anything from them. At least that's from the community perspective.
And thank you, Rob, for sharing that. But I will say this here. Part of the thing is when you are in a community setting like this here, and you do have officials before you, they've got to answer. Sooner or later, they've got to answer the question. And the easiest way out for them is to not be there to answer the question. There may be people filming, there might be people paying attention, there might be media there. And that's when you have these guys come, because you'll be surprised what you folks did in Pahoa, where a few days after that meeting, as you folks all know, that the old the old geothermal site, that was capped for many years, Nelha was going to get another 65-year lease on that property. And the decision was going to be made in Honolulu. And through that meeting is when I heard about it, and what I did was I wrote a letter to the board, and I said, wait a minute, you guys cannot go out and give public lands for another 65 years without telling us what is your plan on this property, for Pete's sakes. And secondly, I called the administrator CEO of Nelha, and I told him the same thing. I said, this is public land, and until such time that you come to the council and give us a public description of what you plan to do with the land, I said, you shouldn't be asking for 65 years of public land. You gotta keep the public in a loop and let us know what's going on. Because of that meeting that we had with Pele Defense Fund, guess what? They said, absolutely, we won't. And they did not make a decision on a 65-year lease. They actually deferred the decision. Why? Because now they're going to come to the county council to give a presentation. So you see, asking the right questions. You gotta keep asking. And when you finally ask, you'll be surprised. Believe me, that was a done deal. That 65-year lease was a done deal until that meeting in Pahoa. So I'm gonna tell you guys something. This type of community organization where you come out and you say we want to have a voice, people are paying attention, guys. I'm telling you, people are paying attention. So I just want to say, and I don't want to take up any more time, but I just want to say thank you, and please keep it up, guys. Keep it up. Okay? Mahalo.